human beings will only sell you what they think are good ideas. So I'm happy to hear from you. And yet, there are better ways for me to invite your questions, your feedback, than counting on individual emails and individual responses. And there's more to be invented. So we're investing certainly as a company. If you look at what we're trying to do with Hotmail and Messenger, you look at what we're trying to do with Office, and a lot of new things, the way we're interacting and collaborating with Twitter and Facebook. There's a lot to be done to reinvent the way we collaborate and communicate socially and personally. The cloud drives advances that drive the cloud. When we and others first started building our high-scale internet services, one of the things that we learned was all of the technology, software, computers, storage, networking gear, all of the stuff that we were selling to our own customers for their data centers needed to be improved to actually work well for high-scale cloud-based solutions. With the amount of traffic, the places in the world it gets used, with the redundancy required, whether it's Bing or what we're doing with Windows Live or the back-end services for our Windows Phone or what we're trying to do with Office. There's no way to run those services using just the traditional data center technologies. You have to write programs differently and you have to deploy them differently. We talked about next generation Windows Azure, replacing Windows Server as a way to program and deploy applications. Most of you coming out of school will come out thinking, I've got to learn to write for the cloud more than you think I have to learn to write for yesterday's systems. Just like people my age never really learned how to write mainframe programs. We learned how to write for the client-server paradigm. We're going through that shift right now. We're not there. It may not be as cataclysmic as some, but it's super, super important. Even the way, I have a son who's a freshman in university, and they're studying the history of computing. The history of computing is in large measure kind of what I've done most of my life. It's now the history of computing. And yet when we talk about the history of computing, what students will study in this university in 10 years, what is kind of today's practice in terms of the way to build and deploy data centers. And for many of you, I think it's important to recognize just how rapidly that shift will go on. We see that in so many ways now that are kind of interesting. And as we think about the new applications, I mean, literally, let's talk about data centers. Data centers on the planet today consume about 3% of the world's power. The data center annual budget for the world is hundreds of billions, probably about 700 billion. And the applications that get deployed to those data centers are almost always out of date very quickly. One of the things we're doing just for our own use is, how do you build a data center that literally comes in a box? A box that requires almost no electricity and almost no power to cool. What does that kind of thing look like? And we're designing next generation data centers that literally come in shipping containers. You plug in an electrical cord that hopefully doesn't have to have much power to it. You plug in a garden hose, because we hope you can cool it with a garden hose. And you plug in an internet connection, and you get a cloud. And instead of building these big facilities, I don't know what the data centers look like here at the university, but it probably still has a fancy air conditioner and some raised roof. You really just want to pour down a slab of concrete, maybe put a roof on top of the shipping container, and call it done. In next generation data centers, very few jobs should be created, in fact. In the data centers we're building today, there are more jobs that go into constructing them than go into operating them. Because if you build the hardware and software platform correctly, that's the evolution. And now we need to keep taking cost and complexity in ways that I think benefit the technology industry, the environment, everything else under the sun. Fifth, and certainly not least, is the cloud wants smarter devices. This is now more of a legacy discussion, but one of the things that people like to talk about is, would the world change back to a world in which all computing was centralized in the cloud, and we would all just have sort of dumb devices that would receive HTML streams? Well, whether it's, sort of the advent of smartphones and some of the good work that we've seen there, whether it's the kind of work we're doing in Internet Explorer 9, where we show that there are multiple ways that even just of running HTML, a smart device can run standard HTML better than a dumb device can with the right browser. If it's the kind of things you saw in Connect, the cloud doesn't want to do everything. If it's going to recognize you and your voice and your gestures and your dance moves, it's going to have intelligence built into it. So we need to reconceptualize what an intelligent device looks like in the move to the cloud, and the way it gets built and the way it gets managed. We're on the verge of launching the next generation of our smartphone technology, so-called Windows phones. I've gone to a world where in the old days I actually used paper and pen when I came on a trip like this. Now I move to a world in which a smart device actually, and then I worried all trip about losing the paper. All trip, my number one concern was I'd lose all my notes. I still occasionally use paper. Why? Because it turns out that it's more sociable in general and more respectful if when I make a note I'm looking at you and scribbling indeterminately. Than if I sit here, for example, let's say, maybe I'll make a note here and just say quickly, I'll do it as an audio recording. Swedish students hopefully love Windows phones. Now I'm done with that. I probably wouldn't do that in a one-on-one meeting. I'd probably sit there and type. But these smart devices, that note is already available to me in the cloud. I don't have to think about it anymore. It's done. It's been roamed. It's been backed up. It's relevant. It's unfortunately not yet synced to the video, so I won't remember what I was doing. But the cloud wants smarter devices. In an attempt to kind of give you a little bit of a feel for how all of this comes together, we thought we'd have one of our partner companies come on stage and share with you a little bit of how they're thinking about cloud services and smart devices, and maybe one you know pretty well. Important and popular kind of Swedish startup. We're going to invite Daniel Ek, CEO and founder of Spotify, to come on stage and share some thoughts with you about some of these topics. Daniel.
Great to be here. Be back in Sweden, which is always nice. I don't get the chance to be back that often, so thank you, Steve, for inviting me on stage. As Steve said, I'm Daniel Ek. I'm the CEO and founder of Spotify. And what I wanted to talk to you guys about today is kind of a bit about the background of Spotify and what we've done. As you may know, Spotify is a company that was founded in 2006 by myself and a guy called Martin Lorentzen. And the general idea behind Spotify was the fact that we see that the world of music has changed based on the internet. And the world of music has changed because people consume now a lot more music by a bigger diversity of artists. And the reason why they do so is because they no longer just discover music from a radio station. What they do is that they discover music from their friends. So when we set out to build Spotify, one of the most important things that we could do was to actually make it easier for you to discover music from your friends and share music with your friends. The other thing that we really sort of wanted to do and that we cared about was the fact that we wanted to make it easy for you to be able to just within a second consume any song in the world. So we started working on the Spotify app for the desktop. And that was sort of the first paradigm. The Spotify app for the desktop allows you to easily just consume as much music as you want from any source, whether it's Lady Gaga or whether it's something else. So we really made that simple. We also wanted you to more easily share music with your friends. So within Spotify, you can now drag and drop any song, or you can discover playlists from your friends. We started working with Microsoft a couple of months back, also on the Windows 7 platform. So now we support obviously taskbar, snap, and the jump list as well. But the real sort of game changer for us has been connecting not only your PC, but connecting it with your device. So about a year ago, we started introducing Spotify for the mobile platform. So if you've got a smartphone today, you can basically consume all of your library available from the cloud. Just search any track, and you can also instantly share that with your friends. So a few months back, we started working together with Microsoft on bringing Spotify to your Windows phones as well. So what I'm here to announce today is that you're now going to be able to consume your Spotify music on a Windows phone. So hopefully we can show you a little bit of a video here that will showcase that technology as well. And of course, all of the latest features is available for that.
The world of Spotify keeps getting bigger. We're very excited to introduce Spotify for your Windows phone. Just as you would on your computer, you can browse for any track or album and play it instantly, as well as storing tracks on the go. You can search for any song, album, or artist on Spotify and add any song you found to any of your playlists. As all of your music is kept in the cloud, any changes made on your Windows phone will be instantly updated on your computer as well. With Spotify on your Windows phone, you can also listen to music even when you don't have an internet connection. Simply select those playlists you want to have available offline, and we'll do the rest. To learn more about Spotify for Windows Phone, go to spotify.com.
So you can download the new sort of Windows Phone app today from Spotify.com or the Microsoft Marketplace. And of course, we're going to work together as well to develop it for Windows Phone 7. So thank you again, Steve, for having me today. And I'm going to leave the word back to Steve and keep sharing the music. Thanks.
I've heard a lot about Daniel over the years. First time we met personally, so it's good to have a chance to do it. And thanks to KTH for that opportunity as well. We have a lot to talk about between us. I hope what you get a little bit is a sense of the possibilities, the ongoing possibilities and innovation that we see happening in the marketplace. We have a great relationship here at KTH. We sponsor the largest international programming competition, something we call Imagine Cup. KTH has been actively involved, and students from here have done super well on that. Exciting for me to have a chance to be here in that context. We have a number of graduates of this university working for us. Thank you very much. And certainly, if you look around the technology industry, a lot of the great innovations and energy, particularly in mobile, but more broadly, have come from Swedish innovators and Swedish entrepreneurs. And whether it's the move to the cloud or all of the other next generation technologies that come with it, I'm very clear in my mind that many of you are going to be out there defining the future, and many others are going to be applying it to important challenges in society. And certainly it's been a pleasure to address you in both of those contexts, and hopefully our paths get a chance to cross again. I'll look forward to some of your questions, but it's been my pleasure. Thanks again to KTH, and thanks to all of you for your time.